Good morning and welcome to the first actual episode of Fucked If I Know. And I have been inspired this morning on the gram, on the stories, talking about embodying our future selves and creating our future selves now. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a read from Dr. Joe Dispenza from his website. And Dr. Joe is amazing because he talks about how magic and science coexist, right? So how the logical world and how our spiritual world live together. And I just love him because he's so fucking helps it make sense in my brain why manifestation works and why magic works. And so today we're talking about how we can live as our future selves now and become a vibrational match for that experience. So for example, if you're wanting to be a full-time photographer, acting and showing up in the world now and convincing yourself now through affirmation, mindset work that you are already a full-time photographer, and being able to then be open to opportunities in the future and actually just be aware of the opportunities in the future as well, right? Or just around us right now. So for me, saying I'm a full-time photographer, obviously that's the case now. I am a full-time photographer. But a couple of years ago, for me to sit there and say I'm a full-time photographer when I'm not may feel silly, but what I'm actually doing is convincing myself, A, that I'm a full-time photographer, and then showing up as a full-time photographer in the world, and I'm open to opportunities around me that I may not have been if I was sitting in a kind of dimmed mindset or like a lower mindset of, no, I couldn't be that person, I'm not a full-time photographer, rah, 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 sitting in that kind of victim mentality or just in the glass half empty kind of mentality. So I'm going to read out this post from Dr. Joe because he explains it a lot better than I can, and I'm all here for the magic and the science, but I'm not a scientist. So I'm going to read this out to you guys just to kind of really solidify my point, and then we're going to talk about how we can start to embody this in real life. So I'm going to give you a little read. All creation begins with a thought. When we become aware that we don't have something we want, we naturally experience the emotion of lack from not having what we desire. This is how we begin creating through our imagination. It is our natural, innate propensity to be creators at play. The more we think about these things and imagine what it would be like to have them, the more our brain naturally starts creating pictures and images of what our future could look like. This is what it means to dream the dream of the future. This process begins in the frontal lobe, the brain's creative center. When it switches on, it begins recruiting circuits in the rest of the brain that are related to things we've learned and or experienced in our lives. As a result, our brain begins firing in new sequences, patterns, and combinations. Each time we do this, we're not only changing our mind, because the mind is brain in action, but we're beginning to change our brain. If we keep thinking about making that future become a reality, we naturally begin to insert ourselves into the scene of our future. According to research on mental rehearsal, once we immerse ourselves in that scene, changes begin to take place in our brain. Therefore, each time we do this, we're laying down new neurological tracks in the present moment that literally change our brain to look like the brain of our future. In other words, the brain starts to look like the future we want to create has already happened. If we're truly engaged in this process with passion, we might begin to emotionally experience our future through thought alone. In fact, when we are feeling the emotions of our future, whether that's gratitude, joy, freedom, abundance, enthusiasm, love, and so on, the creative thoughts in your mind can become the experience. As the body receives the chemical signals of these emotions, essentially the body is receiving the signal that the event has already occurred. If the latest research on epigenetics tells us that the environment signals the gene, at the end product from an experience in the environment is an emotion, as we embrace the emotion ahead of environment, we are signaling the gene ahead of the environment. Since genes make proteins and proteins are responsible for the structure and function of the body, if it's done properly, we can reap the physical results of these actions and begin to embody our future before it's made manifest. In a sense, we are biologically wearing our dream. Fucking wild, right? He didn't write that. That's just me inserting. No matter what we're trying to create in our lives, whether it's a relationship, a job, a house, health, a calm mind, or a peaceful heart, in thinking about those things and desiring them, we may know what we want in thought. However, many times we experience the emotion of lack in the way we feel. That's because we're conditioned to live in a 3D world and we want immediate gratification or relief from that lack. In other words, if we don't get what we want right away, the lack from not experiencing it with our senses reinforces the absence of not having it. Herein lies our biggest challenge as creators. The lack we live by each day when we notice it hasn't happened yet causes us to feel separate from our dreams, and we no longer believe in our future any longer. That's because we are back in the emotions of our past, and we can't see our future through the window of our past. When we live in lack while we are still creating our future, over time we stop creating and wait for something outside of us to take away the lack we feel inside of us. But it is the lack that is keeping our dreams at arm's length in the first place. But what if you lived by the emotions of your future every day? You would feel like your future has already happened and less likely to be separate from your dreams. That's how we believe in a future we have not experienced with our senses, yet we keep it alive in our mind and body. So, as we can see from Dr. Joe, when we actually start to embody and think and feel like our future selves would feel, like a full-time photographer or an actress on Bridgerton or a famous musician, if we start to embody those feelings right now in the present, we literally create new neurological pathways in our brain to embody that future now, right? And from a woo-woo and energy point of view, the law of vibration essentially means that everything in the world operates on energy, right? We all operate. My table, me, the microphone, you listening right now is all a vibration, and vibrations operate at different frequencies. So that's why when we say people have got high vibes, or I'm feeling low vibes, or you meet someone and you're like, I don't really vibe with that person. It's because your energetic frequencies are completely fucking different. So if you meet someone who's a massive Debbie Downer and they're like, oh, everything happens to me, life is shit, this will never happen, I'll never be famous, blah, blah, blah. I'll never be the lawyer, I'll never have a business, those type of people. You leave that interaction with them feeling so fucking deflated, and it's like literally an energy vampire, right? Versus you come and listen to this podcast, or you find me on Instagram, or one of your other friends is a high vibe motherfucking queen, and you leave that interaction believing anything is fucking possible, because plot twist, anything is fucking possible. And we have the choice every day how we think and how we show up in the fucking world. So you have that choice today to wake up and act like a boss-ass bitch who's an actress on Bridgerton. You have the option to wake up and believe that you're a CEO of your business. You have the option to wake up and be like, I'm a fucking abundant bitch and all the money comes to me. Or you have the option to be in pity party and say, everything happens to me. I never win anything. Everything always goes to shit. You have that choice every day. So that's just a little side note on choices. So when it comes to embodying our future selves, right? So say you want to be, I was going to use full-time photographer because it's the easiest one for me to kind of explain. You want to be a full-time photographer, or you want to be an elopement destination photographer who shoots overseas. So how do we start to embody this? How do we start to believe this to be true? The first step is in the thought, right? So we have to be thinking about what we want. So I want to be a full-time destination photographer. I want to travel the world, photograph people's weddings. I want to work with really cool clients who are heaps of fun. Small elopements is my jam. That's kind of what I want. Cool. We know what we want. Now we must assign a feeling to this. How would it fucking feel to be getting on a plane, flying to New Zealand, flying to Bali, flying to Milan, wherever it is, and be actually on that flight to the shoot, apart from like a little bit nerve-wracking, which is normal, but how excited would you feel? How thrilled would you feel to receive that deposit in your account, paying you for that wedding? How would that feel in your body? And then we can try and find that emotion by attaching it to a memory. So when was the last time you felt that excited? When was the last time you received money in your account that made you feel like a boss bitch? When was the last time you were so like excited and a little bit nervous for something? And sit in that feeling, sit in that emotion and start to fucking embody it, right? So for me, it has to be more of a recent memory that usually really like works for me. So for example, when I'm trying to manifest something and the emotion that would be manifested, would be assigned to that manifestation is excitement, I think about my recent manifestation workshop where I had 70 women show up on this Zoom and I was fucking bopping, right? I don't know why I said bopping, but I was bopping. And I'm sitting in my workshop room and I'm like, fuck yes, I cannot wait to work with all these women. I was like so nervous, excitement. I felt like I was about to step on stage in front of 1 million people. And that feeling is so recent and so raw and so available to me that I'm able to harness it, sit in the emotion, feel the nervousness, like the butterflies in my belly, and get really excited and then manifest, and live my fucking dream bougie life from that feeling. If you do not have this feeling, or you can't remember it, or you're not even, maybe you've never had it before, maybe you don't know what abundant feels like, maybe you don't know what fucking excited feels like, then find the next closest feeling to whatever that is, and then embody that instead. Now, the next step is actually going and embodying what that person would do. So again, using photography as an example, if I want to shoot elopement destination photography, then I need the content to prove that I can do that. So I'm going to arrange free shoots. I'm going to go find some couples. I'm going to find somewhere in Edinburgh that looks bougie and destination like, or Sydney or wherever it is. And I'm going to do a themed styled shoot. And then I'm going to put it in my portfolio, right? So that's in the portfolio. People who come and look at my Instagram on my website go, oh, Gabby has announced to the world in her bio or in her about her descriptions that she's a destination fucking wedding photographer. She's got the photos to prove it. I now want to book her for my wedding in Bali. It's literally like that. So obviously there's more fucking steps that happen in between that, but that just gives you an example of how we start to embody things. So for me, I've always wanted to shoot on Vogue ever since I was like 16 and first picked up a camera. I forgot about the dream for a really long time, and it came back to me about mid last year. I want to shoot for fucking Vogue. So for me, I looked at my portfolio and realized I had a lot of couples and I had a lot of weddings, and I absolutely loved that period of my life and that section of my photography career. But for me, the next step was Vogue and wanting to really level that up. So I decided to do a huge portfolio refresh. So I took the whole month of August off and only shot work for me. So only shot personal work. I hired models. I worked with friends who had modeled for me, got hair and makeup artists involved, and started to go out and shoot as if I was shooting for Vogue. I'd set up the shoot. I'd theme it. I invested in new lighting so I could take my professional lighting outdoors, which I didn't have before. And I started to shoot as if I was shooting for magazines. And for me, that's what really started to help me believe that this dream was fucking possible. I started waking up imagining that I was shooting for Vogue. What would I wear? What perfume would I put on? How would I show up? Was my appearance? Did it have effort in it? How do I speak to people? Instead of like, oh, I want to shoot for Vogue, I changed the language to, I'm going to shoot for Vogue. I will shoot for Vogue. It's only a matter of time. It's not if, it's when, right? And I started embodying and starting living that in my fucking actual reality. So maybe you are a musician, maybe you're an actress, maybe you're a writer or a drawer or somebody who wants to run their own business. Maybe you could be fucking anything. You could be a fiddle player, like who knows, right? You want to be anything you want to be. Maybe you want to fucking create your own line of gin, or perhaps be a florist in Tuscany, or maybe you really want to get into blowing glass. Like who knows, right? Anything is possible. Your dreams are like, your dreams are your dreams. Go out and live your big fucking lives, right? And embody these crazy dreams. So what can you do to start showing up as this person? What does she or he look like? How do they show up in the world? How do they interact on their social media? How do they interact with other people? Who are they hanging out with? That's a huge fucking thing. And we know this, that we are the direct average. What is it? You are the average of the 5 people. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most fucking time with. So who are you spending time with? Because if you're spending time with like Debbie Downers and people who don't believe in your dreams, then can fucking sure as shit tell you that they're not going to come true. The quicker you surround yourself with like-minded people, and that doesn't even have to be in the physical, like real world life. Like who are you following on Instagram? Who do you interact with fucking daily? And the people that you do interact with, are they high vibe? Are they low vibe? Because if they are low vibe and they're not jamming with you anymore, then you have the responsibility to either continue interacting with them or telling, and feeling low vibe, or saying something, be like, listen, you really fucking bring me down when we chat. Is there any way that we could speak about something different? Or I don't like gossiping about people, so can we talk about something different? Or slowly distancing yourself from those people. And that's a whole other podcast, right? The people who surround you, but just being conscious of the energy that surrounds you and those vibrations that are around you as well. It also comes down to your space. Like, what does your space look like? Does your space inspire you? Do you feel like, I'm very much, if my space is untidy or I don't have fresh flowers or things look really like run down, then I feel really down and I don't believe in my future self as a Vogue photographer or, someone who works on Outlander or Bridgerton or whatever. And even as well, to a degree, guys, just a little side note, like me moving to Scotland, so I would love to fucking work on Outlander. We'll work on Outlander. Moving to Scotland was such a big step, big action step. Not saying just pack up your shit and move to Scotland, but if your dream is around that and you want to fucking work on Outlander, then you need to put yourself in a scenario where that is actually possible. And the more you put yourself in these scenarios and spaces and in these environments, the more you can, you add evidence to your brain of, here, we're in Scotland, we fucking embody Outlander vibes every single day. Why wouldn't we work on Outlander? And you literally begin to convince your brain. And the beauty of this is as well, when we start to announce this to the world and share to the world, I'm working on Outlander, I'm working on Vogue, people start to believe it too. When they start to believe it, they affirm your beliefs, and it just becomes this like Jenga stacking blocks of belief and trust that the manifestation or that the reality is fucking real now. So in summation, short and sweet podcast here today. In summation, when we start to embody and live our lives as if this is already fucking happening, as if we are already the destination photographer or working on Vogue or Bridgerton or, anything like that, when we start to actually embody it as if it is already real, we begin to change the pathways in our brain to start to see opportunities that are actually always around us. We're just not aware of them. So we changed our brain to start seeing the opportunities, to start being a vibrational match for the experience in the future and bringing it into the present rather than waiting for it to come one day, which is why we must speak as if it's already happening if we want to bring it into the now, rather than I will be, or this will happen, or one day. We speak as if it's already fucking happening now. So we become a vibrational match for scenarios. We are open to the opportunities around us, and even just like from a straight up logical point of view, right? When we start to say to people, oh, I'm going to work on Outlander one day. Like I said this to a friend. I put it on my stories the other day. And I have a friend who lives in Scotland who messaged me and said, oh, I have a buddy who's in film who really wants to be on Outlander too. And now he's a COVID marshal on the Outlander set. So while it's not necessarily exactly what he wants to do, he's got his foot in the door. I was like, fuck, I didn't even think that was a possibility. But by me just announcing it to the world, like I will work on Outlander one day, somebody out in the world, 6 degrees of separation, right, has gone, oh, actually, I know someone who works there. Here's how they did it. So by us just sharing with the world and telling people just logically, just straight up logically, you never know who you're going to interact with, who will get you closer to where you wanted to be before. Perhaps by me fucking sharing this podcast, someone listens to it and goes, oh, hey, Gabby, like, actually, I know the person who hires for Outlander. I'll be like, sick, hire me. Or just another example, I really wanted to learn violin and I was really quiet about it for a really long time. And I just posted on my stories saying, oh, I want to manifest learning violin. I've always wanted to learn since I was like 8 years old. And I had a friend message me saying, I have a violin, I never use it, I'm happy to gift it to you. And best gift I ever fucking received. And, just by sharing that out with the world, people are able to then offer you pathways. People can then give you suggestions. So having the audacity and the balls to go out there and say, this is what I want to do, this is who I'm going to be, you actually allow people to help you, allow opportunities to come to you, versus if you're really quiet about them and you don't declare them to the universe. So there is a little podcast on how you can start embodying your truest fucking self, how you can start bringing your future into now. Remember, it's a beautiful mix of science and woo, and I love it. And that's what you're going to get a lot on this podcast, is the science that backs up why manifesting works, the science that backs up why mindset and gratitude and practicing joy and mindfulness and gratitude, just repeating myself there, why that is so fucking important, and how we can literally start to change the way that our brain works, control the energy around us, affect the vibrational pull of experiences and people and everything around us as well, and just understand the power of how strong we are and how powerful we are, how powerful our thoughts are, how powerful our words are. And truly, if we really understood how powerful our thoughts and words are, we would never speak a negative word at all. If you would love to learn more about how you can change your brain, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Joe Dispenza, who's the section I read this morning was just off his website. That is a fucking phenomenal book, and I could not recommend it more. Very wordy, very heady, obviously, but incredible at explaining how manifestation and gratitude can literally change the matter in your brain and start to affect you so fucking positively. So I hope you enjoyed. If you did, I would love for you to shoot me a message and let me know what you thought of this episode. Share it with your friends and start embodying that fucking dream life of yours, because you deserve it.